Welcome, friends, to the Wormhole Manifest podcast. I am your host, Matt, or just the Wormhole, and today's episode I am excited to bring to you a discussion with a recent acquaintance, a friend I've made through Discord communities. He is an amazing artist that has a really cool and interesting story, so I'm glad to finally have had the opportunity to get him on the show so we can talk about it. Matt, also known as, or aka, Cats Will Eat You, has been producing a different piece of artwork every single day for the last 15 years running. So we get into how that world record type of thing or streak got started, and also dive into some other fascinating arenas and projects that he takes part in, such as music, animation, and streaming. We get a nice perspective from an artist's point of view about NFTs and crypto. But don't let that turn you off to continuing to listen to this, because I learned a lot from Matt, and I think you will too. Even if you're not interested in cryptocurrency and all that stuff, it's nice to at least know a bit more about it from this particular perspective. We also talk a bit about his metaverse project and several other really interesting things. So please enjoy this latest episode of the Wormhole Manifest podcast. On another note, if you like this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and another review, or depending on where you listen, also on Spotify. Every little bit helps, and I appreciate your patience with the frequency of the episodes as of late. I have fallen back onto some issues with my mental health, and I hope I'm dealing with them better than I did years ago, as I've discussed in the podcast episodes previously. So it's just taking me a bit longer to push out these episodes and to basically hang on to that motivation that I had when I first started this project, started this podcast. I really do appreciate your patience though, so any constructive criticism or reviews can definitely help with my motivation levels, and they are highly appreciated. So anything you have to say, I would definitely love to hear it. I want to keep this project going, and hopefully keep it at a reasonable frequency, so that you guys can enjoy it and just have really awesome guests that I have had so far, or just like the ones I've had so far, so we can share new and interesting information with you all. So anyway, without further ado, here's that awesome conversation with Cats Will Eat You. Enjoy. Welcome everybody to another fine episode of the Wormhole Manifest podcast. Today I've got someone I've been meaning to get on here for quite a long time. Just things haven't worked out, and now you're here. Everybody, welcome Matt, or otherwise known as Cats Will Eat You, the artist. What's up, my man?
What's up, man? Honored to be here. I've had a lot of fun listening to a couple episodes of your podcast in the past, and look forward to this conversation.
Oh, thanks, man. That's cool. Was there anything that jumped out at you? I've been trying, man. This is a different kind of thing for me, and it's just kind of trying to do a podcast is something I've done podcasts before, but just taking the reins and trying to do all the editing and making it sound really good and all that is different than just sitting down with some people and recording, and so, but yeah. Anything you liked about it, or is, any critiques from an artist?
No, it always sounds good, and you're just a natural conversationalist, so I appreciate that. It's fun to listen to.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. So tell us a little bit about what you've been doing. some of the things I've been reading about, and that we're in the same Discord servers, and I've been following your artwork for a while, and it's awesome, by the way. And everybody should check out Cats Will Eat You. We'll do shout outs at the end and kind of get your links out there so people know where to find you. But um, the big thing I think that jumps out to me is 15 years of daily artwork.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah, that's the big thing for me. That's my lifetime project. I started in at the end of 2006.
Wow.
Just decided I was gonna try to do a drawing or some sort of artistic picture, you know, one a day and post it online and make sure I never missed that daily deadline, just to kind of, initially it was just because I had this desire to make a huge collection of work, because it's just fun and fascinating to like look at artists that have done stuff like that, like Picasso and just other like great prolifics out there, and see how their work changes over time. And then
Mm-hmm.
it just like, maybe a year into it I started to realize like how much better my art was getting because of it, and then it became just a lifestyle. So
Yeah.
now it's a part of me.
I think the interesting thing is that like I haven't known you this whole time, and what I've seen just in the past like year or so, year and a half that I've seen, we've chatted on Discord in the reincarnation community, so shout out to them. Um, like the stuff I've seen, I don't know what the stuff looked like when you began, but like everything that you do now is just like I'm like blown away by it. I look at it and I'm like, how does he do that? Like, and that's something about art to me, is like when I look at something and it just like I don't understand like how it's done or how it works. And you're doing all this 3D stuff and like VR stuff and just like sketches and like hand drawn stuff. It seems like you have a broad spectrum of like uh what they call like the format or the
Mediums. Yeah.
mediums. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I like to sort of explore new mediums, emerging technologies, and just see. I find that pushes me a little bit out of my comfort zone, and then helps me like rediscover my own voice, or like a new perspective on my own voice within it. And
Hmm.
so it's, to me, that's where the exciting part is. And then also like just like anytime you're doing anything that's sort of bleeding edge with art tech, you you're connecting with people a lot faster. I found like it's just like people just instantly like, oh, I've never seen anything like that before. How'd you do that? Like that's fucking rad.
Yeah.
Like, how did you possibly figure that out? And it's like, it's really just that urge to be on that, to be an explorer in the art world has kind of always driven me.
Yeah. And that's cool. I think that's something that most artists should. I don't know if they should, but I mean, it just seems like to be well rounded in all aspects of art in itself. It's just like at least give something a try if you've never tried it before, And it's like, oh, okay. Even if you don't like it, you're like, okay, I won't do that or mess with that anymore. But um, I call myself a former artist sometimes because I actually went to college and that's all I took was art classes in my first 2 semesters or 3 or 4
Oh,
semesters. I
really?
forget, but yeah. And I really wanted to make comic books. I'm a huge comic book nerd, and I used to draw all the time before I joined the military. So over 20 years ago, when I was a kid, I drew all the time. And then when I was a teenager, I used to draw quite a bit. And I really wanted to get into making comic art, but I never quite was good at drawing like the anatomy and all that. So when I went to college before I joined the military, I started taking like the figure drawing classes and stuff, and you're like using charcoal and you're like got a live nude model up there on the little stage and you're like drawing the shadows and all that. And it was really cool. I did a lot of good work.
Yeah.
Um, the reason I don't really draw anymore, and I don't know if you've heard this before or if I've told it on Discord, but like I had a huge portfolio of stuff even from when I was a kid, and this huge leather binder, and it was in a storage unit. And when I left left the city, left my hometown to join the military, the storage unit caught on fire, and on like a floor above the floor where my stuff was, and it just rained down. All the sprinkler system came on, and everything got ruined in my storage. Not everything, but most everything. And that was one of the things, was my portfolio. And I had huge pieces in there too that I did, and all kinds of cool abstract stuff, and notebooks and binders and all this stuff in there. And then like it just kind of crushed me that I had lost all that work.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It was 20 years of like hard work, and it was all, the thing was jam packed. I remember too, it was like stuffed in there and had a zipper across the top, and I had that thing full. I'm like, yeah, that'll be good, that'll be protected, while I'm away.
Yep.
And now,
yep, I've got piles of art, and there's times where we've moved and stuff, and I've had to throw pieces away, but like there's some art that's more sacred than others. But I understand that like having this like collection of stuff that you're proud of all of a sudden gone. Like when I was a kid, I collected baseball cards, and I had like every Roger Clemens card when he was a fantastic pitcher at the time, and like I lost them all. Like some kid took them from me on the bus, and then I was just like, I went from collecting baseball cards like every week to like just never again. Just like I'm done. All that work is gone.
Yeah, man, that's rough too, because it's like, I don't know. I mean, people keep telling me, "Oh, you should just start again. Just start, even if you just doodle or something here and there," and I don't even really doodle, which is weird. Like, because that used to be something like, that's how I got through most of my classes in school and stuff. And I just sitting there drawing on a notepad and listening to the lecture or whatever, and making doodles. But it's like, I guess I'm never really in a position where I'm sitting there like listening to people talk and I have a notebook or something in front of me. So it's like there's always some kind of other digital media thing going on in front of me that is catching my attention, or I'm scrolling my phone, which, takes up way too much time.
Yeah. Maybe someday you'll end up in a class again and with a notebook in front of you and start doodling. Those figure drawing groups are great though too. Like I was, if you look back into like maybe 2008-ish, around, like I was heavy figure drawing during that time, like just really going to different groups every week. It was like such a fun social environment, like everyone's drawing the same thing, and then you take a little break and everybody looks at each other's work. I love that.
Yeah, I remember I was drawing in figure drawing class, and I was drawing the person's, the way they were standing, the pose that they were in, and I was drawing that, and then I kept messing up on like the head for some reason, and I ended up just putting a Spider-Man mask on the head, and my instructor came by and was like, "Okay, you're really into comics, aren't you?" I was like, yeah. But yeah, that's cool. So what's some of the other stuff? You got the 15 years, so you started that, and you've been doing a different piece every day, and it's been evolving this whole time. And now you are still doing that? Like, is it something still like every day that one, and then plus you're probably doing other stuff on top of that?
Yeah, I'm always balancing like a few other, like I've got like a to-do list of things that I want to accomplish beyond the everyday piece. I would say like 75% of the time, or even 80% of the time, I just have enough time to do my one piece, and then I'm like, okay, it's bedtime, because I got kids, I got a full-time job, like it's tough. But I have been like chipping away at stuff. Today we just opened a metaverse that I designed, so I built out immersive environment for all my virtual reality paintings to be shown in. So I thought it'd be,
so it's like a huge gallery, like a virtual gallery,
sort of abstract gallery, just like covered in my art. So you're like totally immersed in sort of my world when you're in there. And then there's like spatial audio in there, so you can, like, if somebody's on the other side of the gallery, you can't hear them talking, but when you get close, you can hear them talking. And then
Oh wow.
there's like a magic button in there. When you stand on buttons, like this giant sculpture shoots out bubbles from its third eye, and like there's like
Oh
little
wow.
dance party section and stuff. It's super fun. We must have had, I would guess, 30 or 40 people in there today, just kind of jumping around in their avatars. Everyone was having a great time. It was such a blast. And
So is this like part of the metaverse thing, like that people they've been talking about, like the I don't know if it's like owned by Facebook or whatever, or is this like a totally different
yeah,
thing?
no, this is just like,
Because I don't know a lot about that.
yeah. So I mean, metaverse is such like a broad term, and like I don't really know what it means, to be honest. Like my definition, is sort of like, in an immersive world that you can join in with other people and hang out and have an experience in. Um,
Like a virtual reality social networking kind of
yeah,
thing. Like,
yeah, and maybe it's not even necessarily VR. It could be like just like even like a group that's meeting, over Zoom chat. Could kind of be
oh,
like a anything that's like where there's technology like connecting people in a new way. I think um,
hmm.
maybe that's what the
Yeah,
metaverse
that
is.
makes
But
sense.
like, yeah, no, this is nothing to do with Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse. I actually listened, like, Mark and Joe Rogan did a podcast. I'm not a huge fan of either one of them, but I listened to the whole thing, and I was actually very fascinated by Mark's thoughts on the metaverse and stuff. And uh, I think it will be interesting to see how it all rolls out the next few years. But I think what we'll see is lots of different communities building little platforms where they can go and interact on. And
Hmm.
to me, that's essentially what I did. Is I made a space where we can go hang and look at my art and talk about my art and have a little fun. And I think having it in like a spatial environment just helps your brain make a memory around it.
Hmm. Yeah, I can see that. That makes sense because it's like if you're meeting up with friends somewhere in the physical world, you meet up and go to see a concert or a play or just go to a coffee shop, meet up with a couple friends. Like that kind of solidifies that memory in your brain. You're like, oh yeah, I was at that coffee shop and you know Billy and Karen were there. Like
Yep.
it was that day. I remember that. So it's there forever after that.
Yep.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
You're like in that little world. Is how do you access it though? I mean, you said it's not just VR. Like, can you
Yeah.
get on like a browser and?
Yep. This one's totally browser based. Browser based. Yeah. You just launch it on your Chrome browser and put in the password. You're in. Yep, and then you can walk around, look at the paintings, and then you can, like, all the paintings like link out to like the NFT site where they're available, if
Hmm,
they're for sale in that case. Um, so it's cool. It's like a yeah, it's like a. I think we'll see like sort of the metaverse will be like the almost like a web brick and mortar version of
hmm.
experiences for like I think you'll start to get like stores that have these sort of spaces that you walk around in stuff.
Wow. Yeah, because I was reading something a couple weeks ago, and they were talking about. I think it was talking about the other metaverse, the Facebook one or something, and they were going to build like complete virtual communities where you can like live and work out of and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, how does that work? Like, you're not really there. Like, do you not really have to have a house that you live in and you're just logged in all the time, like through this VR and like you live in this virtual world like all the time? They'll have us hanging up in like pods in some warehouse, and that's where we'll be living. It'd be like the
Yeah,
Matrix,
yeah,
like
Maybe we are.
Will never need to come out.
Hopefully, we're not just adding another layer on, and that's what we're doing now.
Yeah. But no, that's cool, man. Like it seems like it's like really inclusive too, and it's like a just a fun way to get, like you said, if it becomes a brick and mortar, or if people are selling stuff in this kind of format, then it's like people really be able to get to see basically everything, like products and how things work, and seems like a lot of directions it can go
Yeah,
in to help it
and
grow and
as an
stuff.
artist, like just having a gallery that I can step into from my house anytime and meet a potential person that's interested in my art, that's enormous. Because like a regular physical brick and mortar gallery, you have like your art opening night where maybe you get lucky and you pack the place, but you can only talk to
Yeah,
10 people, and
right.
then the rest of them are gone the rest of the time, and you're not there at the gallery ever again. And
I A long time ago, when I was in college taking art classes, I was invited to a few of those art openings at local galleries in St. Louis, where I'm from. But I remember walking around; they had the wine and the cheese,
yeah,
and like you get. I think I did talk to one of the artists, but it had like multiple artists in this one gallery, and they were doing an opening together, and it was just like jam packed. And I'm like, whoa, this is but like doing something like that, doing it like, having your own gallery, like that's awesome. Like really opens it up. So you don't have to have, you can actually set time and meet with people and connect and get your information out about what the pieces are and, what you went through to make them and,
yeah,
the creativity behind it and all
yeah,
that.
yeah,
So
exactly.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
And then also,
you meant,
oh, sorry.
go ahead.
Outside of the metaverse, I also just finished up a short film. So like a animated,
Oh,
like a 6-minute little animated film that I made. And so I'm shooting that off to festivals, hopefully to have its debut here in the next month or two. Um, Kind of been a long, many multi-year project there. I started a few years ago. We have a composer friend that wrote a piece for a trio. My wife plays viola, her friend plays violin, the composer plays piano, and they wrote like a piece. And then I just sort of reacted and built a narrative around
oh, wow.
the music. And then he spent maybe a couple weeks writing this beautiful piece, and then I took years to animate it and react to it. Kind of a
Wow.
lengthy process on my side, but we've got it done now, and I'm really proud of it. It's one of the coolest things I've made, and I'm looking forward to showing that to everybody soon.
Is it going to have like a debut, like a release date or something like that? Or
Yeah. I think, well, we're trying to find a venue that will let us have the musicians play to it live, because
oh,
it's so tied to the music, and we've recorded the music to a click track so that everything can kind of get syncopated perfectly. There's lots of moments in the animation that hit right on specific times, and I think just having that sort of, again, it's all about having like a unique immersive experience. Like anybody that's at that
yeah,
showing is going to remember it very well. And they're all in, if we do that more than one time, every venue you do it in is going to be a little different. The music's going to sound a little different, the performance will be a little
yeah,
different. So I really we want to find a venue to sort of debut it that way, and then there'll be places where that's just not logistically possible, depending on where like the projector is and where um, people sit and stuff. But I think that'll be
man.
really cool.
That sounds
We've
awesome,
we've
man. Like,
we've done that in the past a few years ago with a previous film, and we did it. We just showed it in our house. We had like 50 people crammed in my house, and
oh wow,
this is a 1,000 square foot house tops. And so that was we like moved furniture out into the garage and like made
Wow.
room for people, and like there was people like extremely moved by that. People were crying and stuff, and it was like such
Wow.
a cool experience. And then we brought that into like a little local film fest theater situation, and we won a prize that night. That was really cool. So um,
Wow.
hoping to kind of make another round like that. It's been a while, but we're excited.
So, like, what would you say are the big differences between what you did before and this new project that you just
Oh
finished?
yeah. The first was almost like I was taking pieces of animation that I had already done and was kind of like building around to the music that Tom wrote. Thomas Lang is the composer. We were taking stuff that I'd already made, almost using like my back catalog as like a big sort of source library, and then finding other little pieces to kind of fill the gaps and continue the story.
Hmm.
So it wasn't, and it was all very two-dimensional, basic, minimalist art style, which I was big on at the time. And then this new film was all like a huge, three-dimensional set. I still render it out to make it look more like a hand-drawn cartoon, but yeah, it's just a totally different software flow and workflow. Like
Hmm.
I kind of like, this one's a lot more narrative driven. The other one was a little abstract.
Oh. So like there's like a story behind it kind of thing this time where you're going to be captured in that moment of what's going on in the animation along with the music that's going on
Right.
too.
Yep.
That's really cool. Um, on that note, I don't know if you're a fan of the band Radiohead. Um,
Yeah.
they recently did something along that line, and it was to their Amnesiac album, but it's available on Epic Games, and it's kind of, I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. I've just looked at images of it, but apparently you can walk around kind of in a weird metaverse thing, and you'll hear like some of their music playing in like, as you walk by certain areas in the game. And I've been meaning to try it because I'm a big Radiohead fan, but I did, I just haven't gotten the time to sit there and go through, because you can apparently like listen to like a lot of stuff that hasn't been released
Oh, cool.
by them, like kind of like weird tracks and stuff. But it's like you're in a weird, like a, not just like a gallery, but like this weird little world. And there's all this animation stuff going on. That's like I don't know if you're familiar with uh, Tom, Tom York's, he's the lead singer
Yeah.
and guitarist of the band. And he does a lot of art stuff too. And it's really crazy out there kind of stuff, but it's pretty cool. Well, a lot of that is like his art in this game. And it's, I don't even know if it's really a game, but it's available. It's only available on a game platform. So
Right.
like
Some sort of
you can download it.
immersive
Yeah,
experience that anybody with that
yeah.
platform can experience. Cool. Yeah.
And I don't think it's like game, like there's like a goal, but there's like a lot of weird areas that you can kind of like get into if you like know where it is. Like you just have to explore and explore and explore until you find all the little hidden things and stuff. So it's really crazy. I've been meaning to try it, but I don't. It just made me think of that when you were talking about the other stuff. I don't know, getting thrown off now. I'm like thinking about music and
Yeah.
art and throwing it all. I'm like I want to like get. I want to try all this stuff. I definitely want to see if is your animation going to be available to see like online at all, or is you just going to do the live stuff at first?
Yeah. We'll do the live stuff a couple times, and then I'll release it to the public for everybody to see.
That's cool. I can't wait to see that,
Yeah, I
man.
could give you a sneak peek.
Nice. Cool. All right. So, all right, you've done you're doing the 15-year thing. Is that a goal to like just keep going? Like, are you going to keep
Yeah.
on going as long as you possibly can with that?
Well, as far as like, so when we had our first child, which was almost 10 years ago now, I was in the hospital and I was thinking like, how am I going to keep, like, I don't know what fatherhood's going to be like. How am I going to keep this streak going? Like, I was already tired. We hadn't even had the kid yet. And so I like started Googling like daily art streak, like who's done this. And that's when I discovered Beeple. It was, the highest paid digital artist of all time now. Um, and he was popular at that time, not nearly as popular as he is now, but I could see that it was working for him, and he had this enormous everyday streak. And I looked back, and I was like 4 or 5 months ahead of him, and I was like,
Huh.
I can't stop knowing that this guy's gaining popularity, and like it's working for him. And my goal isn't to become famous or popular at it, but like just knowing that I had the lead on that, and that I
Yeah.
couldn't find a single other artist that had the longer streak. I just couldn't. I can't imagine stopping. Like it would
Yeah.
really take. But like there's days where it's come close. Like when you like the day that you have a kid, that's a hard day to like get that update out. And or like a day where like there's a wedding or somebody, or there's been like I had a really rough time in May. My brother passed away suddenly, and
Mm,
like
I'm sorry about
yeah.
that. Sorry to hear that.
It's just tough to like, there's life shit comes up, and there's days where it's tough, and I feel like super grateful and super lucky that I've gone this far without having that sort of interrupted streak. Like there's going to come a time where if it's not my own death, it's something terrible happens and I just can't get to it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, hopefully not anytime soon.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Um, I you mentioned that other guy that you basically have the lead on, and ever since meeting you online, I have noticed there's people that I follow like on Twitter that do different but kind of similar things where they have a streak going, and it's like this one guy likes to Photoshop Paddington Bear into like movie stills, like, and it's he says, photoshopping Paddington into movie stills until I forget, like, or every day until I forget.
That's
And it's
funny.
like it's every one of them is hilarious. I'm just like, some random film, and people are doing whatever, and he has the Paddington pose so it looks like he's actually part of that image because he's like reacting to whatever is going on
Oh,
around him in the
cool.
image. So it's not just a random Paddington Bear picture doing whatever. It looks like he's part of the image, and I'm like, I crack up every time. There's another guy who does like he puts Leatherface into black and white photos or something, and there was another person who puts something in the background of like his family's like vacation pictures, and his wife never noticed, and then like he's posting them, and then like I think finally she figured it out and was like, oh my god, how long you been doing this? And it's just
There's
hilarious,
this.
that people do that. The dedication it takes, though, I
Oh
think is
yeah.
what really is amazing, like is what you're doing, and doing, every day, plus the other stuff, like you said, taking care of the family, and you know, going to work every day and doing all that stuff. It's far more than what I'm doing. I am been super slacking lately and just not doing much. I have been gaming. I started streaming again, here and there, but not the past few days with my kidney stones acting
Oh
up
yeah.
again. And that's uh, it's freaking terrible, man. Okay, my doctor didn't even call me back today. I was supposed to like try to get in to figure out what's going on because it doesn't even it's not like not even hurting right now, and it wasn't hurting all day except for early this morning. It did, and I'm like, what is going on? Normally, it's just like intense pain, and you can't do anything about it until you pass the stone. but this is like tricking me out. It it's like gonna hurt for like 15, 20 minutes and then not. It's gonna be like totally fine. I'm like, but I feel like I'm still in that little shock phase, like where I'm like, I feel exhausted and worn out from suffering that much intense pain for a few minutes. And I'm like, what is going on? I got to do something,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's one guy I wanted to mention with a crazy back on the crazy streaks. Jonathan Mann, this guy does song a day where
Oh man.
and he uploads them to YouTube like with a video like performing them. And he's on like his 13 years now, and
Dang.
his songwriting craft is so good now. Like it's insane. Like I don't like every song that he does, but I really enjoy most of them. And that to me seems like way more work than like my art streak. But we've become friends now, and we talk, and like he, obviously like from his perspective, that's like the easy thing to do. And maybe visual
Hmm.
art's not his cup of tea. But I think anytime you just like make it a habit, then it becomes easier after a while. Like it's like, and
Yeah, you gotta.
I sort of see it as at the end of the day, it's like a privilege. Like, wow, I have this hour where I get to sit and create something. Like that's amazing.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. And it's like it, it is amazing when and you do have to like kind of build up that routine, and that's almost with anything in life. Like things do get easier when you build up a routine. That's been my problem lately is I've thrown all routine out the window, and it's just like living minute by minute and not really expecting what I'm going to be doing, like a half an hour from now, except for, like I do have a stream schedule up on my Twitch, and it says what days and times I'm supposed to stream. And I just don't even, sometimes I get on like an hour before I'm supposed to start. Sometimes it's an hour later. Sometimes I just don't even show up. And I'm like, it's not going to, my other friends that are streamers will say that that's not a way to get like your following, or, because it's just like you got to have that routine, and they got to expect when you're going to be showing up if you're going to be doing something. But I'm like, the way I look at it is like I'm not doing anything that cool anyway. Like nobody wants to show up in my stream. The only time I want people to show up and watch me stream is when I'm doing the marathons for the Extra Life for Kids charity marathon, raising
Okay.
money for the children's hospitals. Which is coming up next month, beginning of next month. Exactly like 30 something days from now. But I don't do the 24-hour stream because that kills me. The
Yep.
first year wiped me
Oh my
out.
gosh.
But but I'll split it in the two 12s, and that works out a lot better for me. And sometimes I do cross between PC gaming and an old console or some retro games and stuff to throw out there, just do something different. And then, I want people not just to get on there and donate help me reach the goal, but like get in the chat and like help keep me awake,
Yeah.
like when I'm trying to play these games and stuff. But
I
yeah, it's for a good cause too. So that's why I want to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I've tried streaming like maybe half a dozen times now. I only, but like you're saying, like I can't schedule a stream and then get into it. Like it's just beyond me for some reason. And then my approach to art is usually not very streaming friendly because I don't know which tool I'm going to use, because I usually kind of like
Mm.
when you think about like an author like typing a page and crumpling it up, throwing it to the side, typing a page. I have a few false starts every single night. And like sometimes it's like I
Mm.
start on my iPad, I'm drawing something and I don't like that, then I put that away. And I'm gonna go in VR and try something else, see what until something starts to click for me. And so I feel like if I'm gonna stream, then I'm gonna have to like have all my options ready to go, and then it just becomes like a big hassle to like set all that stuff up.
Yeah. I I am I don't know. I like the idea of streaming kind of more than the actual streaming. You know, like it's I like building my scenes and the cut scenes and doing the like the transitions, you know, like and I've watched like hours upon hours of videos on how to make your stream look cool, you know, to and then but it's like I did all this work and you know, I say I'm not like an artist or anything, but like I've spent like countless hours working on making my stream look cool with like
Yeah,
you know the webcam frames and the alerts and all this stuff and then when I get on there you know get on Twitch for like 5 minutes and I look at somebody else's stream that's only been doing it for like you know not even a couple months or something and theirs looks like completely like totally professional and like all kinds of crazy cool stuff and they have like a million followers and I'm like I just spent all this time making mine look you know
yeah,
okay I guess you know it wasn't as cool as I thought it was but it's still fun. I like doing it, and I like you know as long as I'm having fun playing whatever game I'm playing, and you know taking the time out to do that. And then recently, there's been a few people jumping in the chat, so that kind of like helps too because I can be like, "Hey, thanks for watching," you know, and kind of talk to them a little bit in the stream, and
yeah.
helps the time go by, and you know,
I've been kind
and
of
I'll
hooked.
just be sitting there like, "What am I doing with this game? How do I figure out?" Where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. Most of the time I play these games horribly too, and I'm just like terrible. I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to be doing here. But
I've I've
it's fun.
I've fallen down a TikTok rabbit hole recently, and I'll stumble into people that are streaming on TikTok, sort of music performances, like just like a guy doing like solo guitar stuff in his room, and then like passes the mic to his friend. They all talk about the song that they just heard and stuff. It's great. Like,
That's cool. I haven't been on TikTok too much. I started posting some of my stream clips on there and like they get a lot of views. So like that's a friend of mine who posts like the YouTube
yeah,
shorts. If you do post YouTube shorts, those things like one of mine got like over 2,000 hits in like the first couple hours and I'm like, "Geez, like I should have been doing this the whole time if I actually want to be a you know, a gaming streamer or something, you know."
yeah,
It's all about building up that that community, I guess, you know, and just getting a lot of marketing type stuff out there or just, you know, selling yourself, basically saying, "Hey, come check out my stream. Here's this short clip on YouTube and, you know, this is what I'm doing," you know, or you don't even have to say that. You just show you playing a game for like, you know, 5 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever it is, 30 seconds. But
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. I'm kind of yeah, just trying to find, again, like I view it as like it would be cool to sit in a cave and create all my stuff and like just have somehow it goes out there and people still see it, but like really like I just try to explore all these different social platforms to see what people are digging on. And I'm having a lot of fun putting like my process videos up on TikTok. People are really reacting to that. Just showing them like as I'm drawing stuff, how I make the 3D models or stuff. Like people really latch onto that stuff. It's cool.
Yeah. It is cool stuff. Another artist friend of mine, I don't know if you've listened to that episode, my friend Mario, shout out, Artisan Rogue. He does a lot of stuff and been an artist for a long time, and he's all over all the different platforms too. And I see him, I'll like, he'll post like a link to the TikTok on Twitter or Insta or whatever, and, you know, and I'll check it out, and I'm like, man, this guy is like, I don't think he sleeps, you know, like it's just always doing stuff. I'm like, but you know, it's amazing how you can get all the stuff out there into the world, you know, and show off your stuff like art. Like I told you earlier, when I was in college, like there was, you know, it was the 90s, so like we barely had internet, you know, back
Yep.
then, and it was like I was like, I couldn't even share that. So you had to do the things like the installations and the galleries and you know things if you wanted to make it, you know, or do anything with it. Otherwise, you know, the term starving artist was really popular too. It was like, you know, all my friends that were artists were, you know, either you know, I knew it was majority of the people that I knew that were artists that were kind of like artists on their own time and still work their regular job. And then there was some like maybe one or two people I think that actually did it full time for a job, like and did some kind of art. And I think nowadays there's more opportunity for people to get their stuff seen, at least get that recognition, and then move on. But I wanted to make comic books, and I just didn't see it happening after losing all my stuff. And I wasn't that good, like I just couldn't draw. So I started reading more manga type stuff and kind of shifting the whole thing. I mean, I was always in anime, and that's like my big thing still, as far as, I don't know, it just does something to me, the stuff that I like to watch. And I still watch all the Marvel movies and all that stuff too, as far as like the comics thing. I never was really a DC fan except for Batman, I guess, and Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
But like as far as that art stuff, I felt that if I was going to do anything with art, even back then, it would end up being more abstract kind of stuff, So like, and then I was like, I don't know, you can't really make a comic with abstract art. I guess you could, but it would just be kind of different. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, there's just a lot more opportunity, I think, now for artists. But I don't know, like, what do you think from your perspective? Do you think people can, I know there's still tons of animation studios and stuff out there, and I don't know if they're hiring, but I'm sure they got to have, a lot of people to make their product, get the stuff out there.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of opportunities to like sort of make art as, marketing for other people, for sure. Like, there's motion design jobs, animation jobs, that sort of stuff. And I think like what you're saying though, like we're seeing now is opportunities for artists to actually make money doing what they love, which I think that really hasn't happened until sort of the YouTube and the Instagram kind of change the shift, where people could like build an audience, and then all of a sudden advertisers are paying them to do what they naturally do. And then now obviously with Web3 crypto stuff, allowing people to like have a new way to kind of connect to a different audience and actually sell things that we couldn't sell before. There was no way to sell digital art before. You couldn't just give somebody a file that they can copy, but now we can, put it on the blockchain and claim it's scarce, and people can prove that they own it, which is that to me was like huge eye opener a couple of years ago. Cause I had people for years asking me like, hey, how do I really love this animated GIF. Can I buy that? And I'd be like, you can buy it, but I don't know how you prove that you own it. Like, like you here, have the file.
Yeah.
You have the file now. What do you do with that? You put it up on a screen. What do you do? And so, once I finally started wrapping my head around NFTs, I was like, this is going to be really, really cool for artists.
Yeah. I want to find out more. We've talked before online, but like, I want to get into a little bit about that. And if you could kind of help me understand that. Let's take a quick break.
Sure.
And then we will start off and dig deeper into that, so that maybe we can even help some of the people out there that may listen to this show, like understand what it is.
We could certainly try.
So we can try. Alrighty, everybody, we'll be right back. Hang in there. Okay, well, we're back, everybody. Thanks for hanging in there. Back here with Matt. Cats Will Eat You, the artist. This would be part 2 of that conversation, so the last half, folks, if you just, I don't know if anybody ever really just tunes into something, because it's not like I'm on live air, like remember back in the day, they're like, if you're just now tuning in, then this is what we talked about in the first segment, like and then go through the line. I've been taking notes, by the way, which is something I normally don't do, and then I have to listen to the whole podcast like several times over to
Oh,
like
nice.
make my notes to do the detailed little explanation. And I'm like, why don't I just take notes while we're chatting? But it's so hard once you get into a conversation to think, oh, I need to make a note of that,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like.
for sure.
But I've been trying this time, just little quick things, in my little Google Drive,
That'll work.
Google document thing.
Yeah,
But yeah, folks, if you're just now tuning in, I'm here with Cats Will Eat You, the artist who has a 15-year streak of doing a piece of work every day, like, and we've talked about different mediums, his metaverse gallery, an animation that's coming soon that has a musical backing, and
yeah,
and all kinds of stuff. And where we just left off, you started to get into talking about the Web3 and the NFTs. And I think a lot of people out there have no idea what that is, or they may hear, NFT, that's a non fungible token. And then they'll make some kind of quirky joke about how it's going to be like, Pokemon cards or Beanie Babies or something. But it's really not, it is a different element in itself. But let's pick up where we left off. You
yeah,
were you were starting to go. You were talking about what you were learning from that and about selling your actual work like online, digital stuff. So
yeah. So I would say like, well, we go back to like 2018 was probably the first, maybe even a little, probably 20. I don't know what year. I got into like just buying crypto because they put it in the Cash app. They had like easy access. You could buy Bitcoin. And I was like, okay. And me and my bandmates were using Cash App to pay each other for the recording for like our practice space. And so I was like, oh, this is a way for me to like take the $20 my friend gave me and just quickly turn it into a Bitcoin investment. And like that investment number was never high. Like it was like maybe after a couple years of that, I had like $100 or something like in Bitcoin, and it never went anywhere. And then um, I had like an art platform approach me back then that Maker's Place was like reaching out. They were like, "Hey, we're doing this crypto art thing. We think you'd be a great launch partner for us." And I was like, that sounds like a scam. I'm not going anywhere near that stuff. And I turned them down. And to this day, that still like haunts me. Like I could have been like really at the forefront of it, but like I just didn't. It just couldn't wrap my brain around it. And then it was late 2020. I started hearing and seeing more artists like getting into NFTs. This was before things really blew up though, and finally like it clicked for me like, oh, the art gets sort of like encrypted onto the blockchain. The metadata of your JPEG will be on there forever, and somebody can buy that, and then the blockchain can prove that they own it. And I had several misconceptions about like what the tokens were. Like I thought my JPEG, like all the info, all the pixels were
yeah.
also being stored on in the token, which is not the case. The
Hmm.
token really stores the metadata, and then it makes a reference to wherever your file is stored. So that could like hopefully it's on like IPFS, so it's like somewhat reliable and it'll be there forever, hopefully.
Hmm.
But so I kind of ran with those. I ran with like a couple misconceptions for a long time, but I still loved the idea of just like a provably scarce digital asset that somebody can own, and then anybody can look that up and see that that person owns it. And that has there's a parallel to that in the traditional art world, which was just certificates of authenticity that came with that you sell with your
Mm.
art.
Yeah.
And to me, that this made even a little bit more sense than a piece of paper, because it was universally agreed upon by the blockchain, like just the nature of everybody having access to the same exact information and nobody being able to manipulate that information. So as long as it was a fact when it started,
Yeah.
like you could obviously, like I could say like, oh, this is a Picasso, it's for sale, and the data would say that, but it's not necessarily true. But so as long as we can all agree that the data is correct in this case, like we can prove that I made, like my wallet made the NFT, therefore it came from me. I'm saying it's for me, and then we have every transaction that ever happened after that is
Yeah.
totally transparent, and anybody can look it up and see, yep, this person has this.
So how does someone look up something like that? Like if you're like, you know, if you're brand new to this or barely
Yeah,
even use the internet, and you don't even really know what a JPEG or a PNG or a GIF or any of that stuff is, and you're like, oh, I really like this piece of art. How do I get that? Like a lot of people I think would think that, well, I'll just buy a print of it or something. But like if you want to own the original piece of artwork, physically, then you would have to, go to a gallery or go to wherever that person has it for sale, even if it's online, but like how would they even verify that? I guess is another question, like if you have a physical piece of something, you know, it's like nothing. It's almost like we are already in the matrix
yeah,
and we can't verify anything
yeah,
because even if I go to Walmart and buy a new Optimus Prime toy, it's not the only one. There's a million of them. So like, did I even really go there? Did I even buy that? Like, is it sitting on my shelf right now? Like,
right, right. Well, and is it is it yours? Is it like, what makes it yours? That's like what gets me, is like
right. Is any of this stuff
the
mine?
whole concept of ownership is like, someone said this the other day. I thought it was great. Like, ownership is like a collective hallucination. Like, we're all like just agreeing upon it. Like, oh yeah, that's your house you live in. You got the deed. That's what makes it yours. But like,
Yeah.
really, what none of this stuff is ours. But I guess technically, if you want to buy like an NFT from an artist, I would, check with the artist, see where they're selling work, and just and then like sites like OpenSea, the biggest
Mm.
market there is for NFTs. They have like a verification process where they'll give you like a blue check mark if but that's also a little bit bullshit, because like I was there earlier and I had a blue check mark, and then they took it away from me because I don't have enough followers, so it was like, you have to be at a certain level of popularity where people even um, can qualify for
Jeez.
verification, and
Yeah.
so it's a little bonkers, and you have to go through some red tape to get that check mark. But yeah, that I would say too, like, in that sort of chaotic year of the bull market, there was lots of you know artists that weren't aware crypto art was happening, and their art was being minted by total strangers, and people were
Oh,
buying pieces that they thought they were buying from the artist, and then it didn't pan out for them. They were like, oh, this artist hates crypto, they're not doing NFTs, like, I bought this from a total stranger, so it's not actually minted by the artist. But that's
damn.
really
That really
it's
sucks.
also really interesting when you think about the ownership too, because like, if you love the art, you're still getting the same file from somebody else, but
Yeah.
so really, like, at the end of the day, you're you're buying the token, and the token is what's valuable because it actually says that the artist did it. It's insane.
So like the token itself has like the information about the piece and like kind of all embedded into that
Yep.
token. Is that kind of
Yep.
and that's what's verifiable on the blockchain because the ledgers and all that stuff it like all points to the information on this is the owner. Like that's if they're they had that token in their wallet, which is you got to go through leaps and bounds just to get a wallet, it seems,
Yep.
and you got to like have a seed phrase and all this stuff, and you have to keep it super secure and make sure nobody hacks you and all this
Yep.
stuff. It's like
And there's
you know
like easy solutions for that stuff now too. There are obviously like third party solutions, like they call them like custodial wallets, like Maker's Place, one of the platforms I'm really happy to be a part of. You can go on there, create an account with an email and a credit card, and you can buy your stuff in USD and just keep it in your account with Maker's Place. And I don't think you need to really have your own sort of crypto wallet that you're there. You're just,
oh
but then you're putting the trust in them that they're going to
yeah
stick around and that you're always going to have access to them. And I think part of the spirit of crypto and web3 is to like actually own the stuff that you own the responsibility of maintaining it and hanging on to it.
hmm. That's really interesting. Like I don't know if I fully get it
Yeah.
yet, but I'll keep working on it. Like I don't see myself. I I don't really buy anything, like these days. I mean, I don't even like sometimes it for some reason, like even video games, like for video games, like I'm on Steam and I'll like buy a game that I can download and I can always download it, but I like to have that physical copy. So like you can see back over here is all my PS4 games on a shelf, like but I can be on the PS4 and I've got this like 3-year account with PS Plus or whatever premium and I can download and play tons of games from their archives, and I'm like but so it's cool that I can play a game that I may have not played yet. I wanted to try like a long time ago or something because you can even access some PS3 and PS2 games I think on
Yeah.
there. But like the thing the thing that's cool is you can access those things and play them if you've never played them and just to get a quick try, you don't have to spend. But I'm in my heart I'm a
Yeah.
collector, so like that's why my garage has like a huge wall shelf that has all of my anime DVDs, and then I've got like boxes and upon boxes of comic books and like it's I would almost be better off just doing things digitally because I could kind of lighten the burden of if I ever have to move, I've got to have, a bunch of really strong people who don't have a bad back like I do to haul all these damn comic book boxes I've been hauling around for the past like 25 years, like
Yeah.
I hate moving just because of that. Now I've got like tons, I've still got boxes upon boxes of VHS tapes,
Oh, wow.
that I bought back in the like 90s and stuff, like why do I keep all this crap,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just too much. Let's all just go digital and let's wire ourselves up into the matrix and walk around virtual worlds and visit people.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird, but like I think even when I first got into it, I didn't plan on collecting myself. But then like I just wanted to try it right away just to see like what's the process like from the buyer side. After I sold one, I was like, okay, like how does this work? Like what's that like? And then um I felt like I supported an artist. You get like a public thank you from them, and then like you got it in your wallet, and then it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like I'm supporting the arts, and
Yeah.
then now I've got lots of NFTs in my wallet now. It's great.
Oh man.
Um, and I don't, for the most part, it's I look back at it and it's a collection of memories of artists that I've got relationships with. You know,
Mm.
there's a couple pieces I bought impulsively that I thought would, like, oh, that's going to be valuable soon, so I'm going to buy that, and it just never worked out for me. So I stopped doing that, and I started just collecting art from other, sort of emerging artists that I think need the support
Yeah.
now. And just looking back, it's looking back at photo memories. It's just stuff I love.
Yeah, that's cool. And I'm all for like supporting local artists, supporting local businesses, small businesses, things like that, and we try to, my wife and I try to decorate our living room. I used to, for that brief time, I was like a bachelor. So I had like, comic book posters and anime poster wall scrolls and stuff up in the house. But since my wife and I have been together, um, we've decorated our living area mostly just with art that is original art from people that like we either know or have met or have seen and just like really liked. And so like that's kind of like the thing. It's our theme for the, except for my bathroom door, I had to put a poster on
Yeah.
there. But yeah, this wall over here you can't see, but it's got some original art pieces
Cool.
around it. And it's like, it's just cool to. Now my bedroom, on the other hand, just that's where I've moved all the anime stuff. So it's like all over the room is just anime wall scrolls and my favorite shows and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it's all the people listening to this, support artists, support local artists, go to art shows, go see, you know, if you like stuff, then get it. If it's support these local artists, they spend a lot of time doing this stuff and creating and if you buy something at like a street art festival or something, like most of the time, that's, unless it's a print, that's going to be the original art piece, that they're selling right there, and you'll be the only one to have that. So like throw it up on your wall, and that creates that story. It's like I met that person, and if you try to look them up and see where they're at now, you can be like, wow, and it's like I think that's a cool aspect too. Is like if you do buy something from an artist, but before they become like famous or something, like, and then you have that piece, and then later on, like you look them up, like 10 years later, and you see all the crazy cool stuff they've been doing, and you're like, look, this guy's doing all kinds of cool stuff. So it just makes it cool. Like life is better with art anyway.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I have found too that I've, like, with the people that have collected my work since I started selling NFTs, it's probably about 50-50. Now it's probably leaning a little bit more towards people that actually want my art, but like early on it was like half people that probably didn't even give a shit and wanted and saw it as like an investment opportunity. Like, I'm gonna flip this, quick. And then they're sitting on it a year later, and my value hasn't like skyrocketed. So they're like, what did I do wrong? But it's just not the way that the art market's gonna work forever. Like, it's not just gonna always go up. Like, it's just, there was just like an insane mentality happening. And then, but I am finding that the people that actually wanted the art would like a physical item in their house. And so I do a lot of that too, where I pair the NFT. You get the NFT and then you get the physical item. There is like, some people see that as sort of like a liability then, where they have this physical item that if they want to sell the NFT again, they need to include that and
Mm,
keep it in a good condition. So then it becomes more like, like a comic book where you gotta get it
yeah,
graded and make sure it was actually done by, not, make sure it's not a counterfeit or something, which is
right.
super interesting.
Taking it to those guys from like Pawn Stars, and they're like sitting there trying to like, I got to bring in my friend if you don't mind, and they're gonna like come in and take a look at it and just verify that it's
Yeah, which is, it's
it's like
super interesting in thinking again about like having something that's purely digital. Then it's always in mint condition. It's always It's always that file, which is kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. That definitely is true. Like it's not going to degrade over time like a fine painting or, even like a photograph, sometimes the stuff just light exposure and kind of starts wearing it out, or too much sun on an image can, get it all faded and stuff.
Yeah.
So, man, so that's interesting. I'm trying to, hmm, the whole crypto thing. But now that you've explained it the way you have there, I know that there's people out there buying up tons of stuff because they think this is going to be worth a lot, like in another month or two or something. And I can, like you said, you can flip it and make that, take that initial investment and, profit off of it or whatever. And I think now that you've explained it the way you did, like with NFTs and artwork, like you are basically investing in a part of your collection. And if you keep it and it's worth a lot, a lot of times, even when something, I know I have tons of comics that are probably getting up there, but I don't want to sell them. Like, what what am I gonna? I mean, yeah, I could definitely use the money right now. Like I can always use the funds, but uh,
You like having them.
it's just it's hard to part with things once you've, I haven't even looked at my comics probably in like 10 years. So it's like, but I still have this like attachment to them.
Yeah, but when
And I've,
when you bought them, you probably weren't thinking like, this is the one that's going to be worth a ton of money someday, so I'm buying this.
some of them I was, like first editions
Yeah,
and stuff,
yeah.
like first issues of some new like new stuff that was coming out that like from a newer studio, and they were starting off and they were getting really hot at the time, like Image Comics. I don't know if you know them. Like
That
that's
was
where
like
like
my era. Like I briefly collected comics. I was into specifically Batman comics, and then when Image Comics came around, I was like getting into that a lot. And I had like the first issue of Spawn. Like create stuff that I really should have kept, but I didn't. I let it all go when I moved out and went to college.
I still got mine. Anybody want to buy a Spawn one? I think I have all of them for like up to, I don't know where I stopped collecting. I kind of stopped collecting maybe before it was before my first kid was born, so that was 16 years ago, but it was probably even before that, probably 17, 18, 19 years. Just kind of stopped buying them. I would buy onesies, twosies here and there, if something looked cool, but I was like, I just wasn't full blown into the collecting of them. I'm like, I'm not going to find the ones that I'm, really want, and it's like the ones, and I don't have the money to buy those ones that are really expensive. And then I'm like, I'm just going to hold on to what I have for now, and then maybe pass them down to my kids or
Yeah,
something, like,
yeah, and I hope
so
people like look at art in that way, as especially with the NFT thing, like as something that, because a lot of times an artist won't have value while they're alive, and maybe their genius will be realized many years in the future, but it's something that you can pass down to your kids. um
yeah. I wonder how many different, um, I don't know. I'm missing the word, but like how we've got the web, and it's like now you can get pretty fast internet just about everywhere, except for like some of my customers like that live out in the boonies that I can barely connect with their like DSL service or something. They're still barely getting, and it's like I don't know, but most places web is easily accessible, and the speeds are getting faster and faster all the time. Um, I wonder what it's going to look like in 20, 20 to 50 years. It's with fiber and how they've basically gone from like dial up, to like super fast, always on connections and stuff. And with, through copper and cable and now fiber and all this stuff. It's like, what are we going to do? I mean, we have like wireless. Some towns have like internet, like a whole town. I
Yeah.
think there was a town in Texas I was reading about that has, like, if you just live there, you get like free internet, like in town. You just connect. It's like a wireless connection. You just, but I wouldn't like that. I don't think. I like to have a line coming to my house and dedicated,
Yeah.
IP address and, go out. But I don't know. Wireless is just as fast as wired almost
Yeah.
nowadays, even with mobile and with like now we're on 5G and all this stuff. So it's like, what is it going to look like? So those people that have the NFTs, 50 years from now, what is that blockchain going to look like?
Yeah.
If you're looking at like a topography, like diagram of, all the different nodes that are everywhere and everything that's connected and the servers and whatever, it's like, so hopefully everything's going to be still trackable, like I would imagine it would
Right.
be like,
Yeah.
but
But some of these, I mean, I've got stuff on Ethereum and I've got stuff on Tezos and I've got some NFTs on Binance Smart Chain even, like, and like odds are like one of those chains is going to go away someday, you know? So
yeah.
like what happens then? Do we have like a time where we realize time's running out? We're going to like sort of wrap these old tokens in a new token and that becomes like what's carried forward. And I think like
Hmm.
honestly, like when I started jumping into this, I was like sort of paralyzed by the idea because I didn't want to break up my collection of work. I wanted it all coming from one sort of marketplace, one sort of
Hmm.
all on one coin, all using like the same type of language to describe it. But I after a few months of like research, I just gave up and decided that was like probably a bad approach to actually selling my work because the collectors are all over the place right now. They're all on
Yeah.
they all have different preferences of the marketplace they buy from and the type of coins that they
Hmm.
use. So I started spreading it out and like I hope hopefully in the future we can like organize it and get all the collection under one roof or something, but we'll see. Who knows?
Yeah, or it may just be like anything else that you invest in where you have to like diversify everything just about, like
Yes.
got to have a little bit in every, like stocks and stuff, like you got to have a little bit in every different, multiple different companies or investments just to, and just sit back and keep an eye on it every once in a while and, you know, hope it's doing well. But like even with an investment like artwork, it's like you would want to make sure like where it is, and if like a blockchain or a network like drops off, the face of the earth and like doesn't exist, like there's got to be some kind of migration technique or something. You would think that they would develop a policy that would, you could claim your ownership saying like this, look, that was my asset, I want to transfer that asset to, this network or
Yeah.
whatever, hopefully they'll develop something like that so people can, you know, not just lose it
Yeah. Yeah.
because that would
Yeah,
suck.
for sure. There's like right now there's this guy that created Club NFT, like an NFT backup service that um will take take all the data down and save your JPEG with it, all the versions of the
Mm,
JPEG that are I forget, there's like some crazy encryption that happens when the token is made that actually changes your JPEG a little bit in the way it's stored. And this guy's realized because of some of the marketplaces that came and went in the early NFT days, and some of his NFTs got broke. And so like
oh man.
like, and there's no way to like reconnect the old image. And so now he's raised a bunch of money to create an NFT backup service for people so that people can kind of be responsible to like run the backup, download that, and they have everything necessary to restore it to IPFS themselves. Like, so if you're running a marketplace and storing your images on an Amazon web server somewhere, and then your marketplace goes bankrupt and you stop paying that Amazon bill, like,
Mm.
right now potentially all those JPEGs that those tokens are pointing to, those JPEGs go away and the token points to nothing. And so,
Oh, broken link. Like
yeah,
it'd be
yeah,
like
exactly. And then,
error 401. You're like
yeah,
trying to go to a website and it's like it's not there anymore. What the
yep.
hell?
And so, right now, I mean, there is a solution out there where this guy's found a way to, back up your Ethereum and Tezos NFTs and toss it, toss them back up if the marketplaces go under, which is kind of cool. But we'll kind of see where this stuff evolves into the future. And obviously, like, if you were able to, like, store all the data on the chain, um, like every pixel, uh, that wouldn't be an issue. Then you only have to worry about the chain surviving.
Hmm.
But
And isn't there like there's that um people have like tokens in like cold storage or whatever they call to, like where it's like a little actual physical asset, like a USB thumb
yeah,
drive that has like an encryption on it so nobody can crack it. But if you plug that into your PC, you can transfer like your tokens or assets or whatever over to that. Like somehow, like I wonder if you would, I guess then too, like you'd have to plug that in if you ever want to access it to use it. You'd have to plug that in and then it would have to verify across the blockchain to see if, you know,
well,
to make sure that it's actually yours. But I don't know if you could do that with NFTs too
yeah, the
or something like
hardware
that.
wallet, like, this was one of the hardest things for me to understand. The hardware wallet is actually really almost like more of a hardware key. Like, you're like, when I put my, if I just move Ethereum or NFTs onto my cold storage wallet, like, they're not actually going onto that device. That device is just like helping me, like, an extra step of
Mm,
verification. But
like another layer of encryption. That's
yeah,
wow.
but
Yeah.
then but then I unplug that from my computer, and everybody can see that I've sent it to this wallet that, you know can't be accessed, but they know it's mine, and they know I have XYZ. They know I have those NFTs, or I have that Ethereum on that wallet. And
Hmm.
but I can actually lose that piece of hardware and get get my files back just by
Oh.
knowing my whole seed phrase. So it's really like,
Oh.
it's just like an extra level of protection, but it's not
Oh.
actually
Okay.
on that wallet only. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's still
It's
out
still on the
there. Like,
blockchain.
yeah. Just like everything, like you can't like go on the internet. Like I try to explain this to my kids, like if you put something out on YouTube, like even if you take it down, like technically it's still out there somewhere,
Yeah.
like if you go to run for president someday, there's a server out there that has this information and they can dig it up on you and find anything, like if you put something, even a tweet, like you tweet something, it can be dug up later,
I
like
yeah, I
somewhere.
had joined Facebook, like, early days of Facebook, when you had to, like, tell me what university you were going to. And I had one for like a few months, and then I quit for, deleted the account, quit for years, and then
Yeah.
came back, years later. It seemed like almost when it got to the point where it's like, oh, you don't have a Facebook? What the fuck are you doing? And,
Yeah.
like, come in, logged in again, and all my stuff populated back. And I was like, what? How is this stuff still here? Like, why are you guys
Yeah.
keeping it?
Right. It's like, once it's on the internet, it's just there. Like,
Yeah.
and you would think it would take like you would think they would go through accounts and just like they do with the old email addresses and stuff. Like you would think they have like once your email inbox, like if you never check it for like 10 years, and you never access and you even, whatever, it's like it's crazy. I mean, but I do. I have email. I have my original email. Like, still, it was like a Hotmail account or
Yeah.
something from like '95 or something, and it was like, I go on there, and eventually, it. I used to be able to see all the way back, but like there's something, I guess because Hotmail is part of like
Okay.
Microsoft, and they eventually go in and they start cleaning out stuff after a certain amount of time, especially if you haven't accessed it. So you would think they would do that with everything, even like social media accounts, but I think they just have these servers and these big, huge farms of servers that are just they're about as bad as me. They probably have an IT guy that's like me that initially started and like don't delete anything ever,
Right.
and it's like that's why I have multiple versions of different, movies or anime series
Yeah.
that I've, downloaded on my Plex server or whatever. But like I've got pictures from way back and it's all unorganized. And, I'll copy that stuff to a hard drive and, take it out of the computer and put it somewhere, and just store it. And it's like, every once in a while, there's been a time where I'm like, I want to go back and look at something that I had from a hard drive on a laptop, 15 years ago. And it's like, I try to, hook it up and stuff, but it like won't work. So cause maybe I dropped it a few times
Yeah.
or something that old hard drive, but,
Yeah, I was building like websites in the late 90s, for my bands like in high school. Like I was like,
yeah,
and that it was like with Angel Fire, and like that stuff is still out there in the Wayback Machine. You can like find it, and like I'm like, oh my gosh, like somebody's still storing this stuff that I definitely haven't paid a storage bill for, which is crazy. And it's garbage, all garbage.
yeah. Yeah, I've had like those, like the GeoCities and stuff like that. Like was messing around. That's when I started getting into like tech stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna create a website, and then I created a website, and it had like this 200 and something long, digit extension,
Yep, yep,
and then it was before I had like a domain, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to create this free website because, and use their tools
yep,
and make it look cool. And then I'm like, oh, here's the name for it, geocities.com slash this word
yeah.
slash this word slash dot dot underscore 02, like a long, like, how am I supposed to share that,
And then like it was crazy though, is like people, like a lot of people just didn't have websites. A lot of bands didn't have websites. And then so it was like the early 2000s, and I was in like a hardcore punk group, and we had like we could get shows locally a little bit, but then we had a website, and all of a sudden we were able to go on tour. It was like, and it was just like some crappy Angel Fire site that I built myself, but
Oh,
it
wow.
like you send that to a venue and they would be like, oh my god, this is a legit band because they got a website. We gotta like, we'll get them. And so like we were able to like schedule ourselves a little tour and stuff, and it was all just because we were early adopters of the internet. It was insane.
Yeah. That was like the good old days of the
Yeah,
web, when you could manipulate it to, you know, fit your needs. Now it's like everybody has a website. Like
yeah,
almost
yeah.
it's crazy. Internet is like, I mean, there's probably like, I don't know, 5-year-olds out there with their own website. I don't
Yeah,
know. Little kids just posting stuff. I know my daughter, she's 12 and she has a YouTube channel, and it's like, it's gaining some popularity, and she does her own little art and
oh
animations
cool,
and stuff on there, and she has her own little characters she made, and she has them doing different things, acting out things, and she does it all on her phone. She like has this little like whatever animation app on her phone, and it like, she just sits there and she does that for hours, creating like some kind of little furry characters, little cat people and stuff, and
cool.
they're like, so it's like, there's all kinds of stuff out there. But so you're a musician also?
Yeah, barely. I would say like my in back into high school and my college years, I was like heavy into music, like really like I'm gonna be in a band, we're gonna play all the time, and like it was really like a huge focus of my life. And then now it's super back burner. Like we still like I still get together with a drummer and a bass player, and we rent out a rehearsal space, but we haven't played. Well, COVID's been a large part of that, but we haven't played out in a few years,
Hmm.
but we still get together and make music. A lot of like punk rock noisy stuff, and then I also like write sort of, I don't know what to call it, like almost corny techno music on my own, just like
Hmm.
with like garage band. Like I love, like it's like one of my favorite like procrastination techniques. Like as like before I do my daily art, I'll like kind of
Yeah.
like zone out to just like writing little drum beats and stuff, and then
I need to learn how to do that because I've been kind of doing some of that stuff lately. Well, I mean, for a long time, but I have an iPad right here that is always open on GarageBand. And like, I mean, it's the easiest for me to use to just throw down a quick beat
yeah.
to get that tempo for when I'm playing something else, either on guitar or on the synth. And I'm like, I just want to have help me keep time, but I want to be able to. I've tried the FL Studio and all these other programs, and I'm like, I don't understand them very well. And I want to create, like, if I had just a drum set right here, I could get that beat that I want that's going to go with the whatever else I'm adding to it. But like, I'm like, there's got to be a better app to create a good drum, like not just the constant beat, because that's all I can do with this. It's like I hit the play button and it plays this beat, but it doesn't change when I want it to change.
Oh, right.
Like I don't know how to do
Yeah.
that. I mean, maybe it can. I just don't know
Yeah.
how to do
I don't
that.
use the mobile version of GarageBand ever. I use like the
Mm.
Mac desktop version, which I like a lot better. It's very easy to like make changes and stuff. But I I'm sure that stuff's probably built into the mobile version now too. It's just like a little trickier.
And I have like this is like an iPad 2, so it's like really old, and I can't like
Yeah,
get. I've never bought like a Apple product in my life, and I ended up coming across this one because I run a computer repair store. So like
yeah,
I had to buy products, and I actually had a storefront, and I used to sell stuff. So I would get like refurbished items that I could sell, and this was one of the items I had that I got through a distributor. Um, I sold the other ones that I had, and I ended up having one left, and I was like, I'll just keep it, like I'll just and then I set up GarageBand, but now it can't update or anything, it's like
yeah,
we can't update to this new version of GarageBand because it's not supported. I'm like, oh great, I'm not going to buy $1,000 iPad just so I can mess around with one program because I don't know. That's just me. I'm not an Apple guy. I'm a PC Windows.
yeah. It was funny in college. I was the one PC guy, um, mainly because that was where I could get my software for free. It was on a PC, like with you whatever sort of file transfer, SoulSeek or whatever that we were using back then. Uh, share software with people. But then, yeah, and then eventually, I forget what happened where I ended up getting a Mac, and then like I think it was with I think my job gave me a Mac, my first job out of college, and I was like, okay, I'll try this, and then um,
Hmm.
I I just really like the operating system at the end of the day. I hate the
Yeah.
price tag. I hate the fact that there's little flexibility with
Yeah.
altering it, but um, I really like the smoothness of the operating system.
I mean, and it's, there's millions of other people that like it the same way, like, or, just like you do. And it's, obviously it's, a good product and they've been selling a lot.
Mhm.
I'm a tinkerer kind of
Yeah.
person. So like if I can't take it apart and I have taken Macs and MacBooks and iPads and all that stuff apart, and repairing an iPad is a nightmare. Like literally a nightmare. Like it takes way too much time. If you don't have the exact right
Yeah.
tools, if you don't invest like thousands of dollars in equipment to be able to do the job right, then you're basically doing this tinkering kind of, shade tree mechanic type repair, and I've seen a lot of crappy Mac or iPad repairs, and I've done several of them myself when I was just starting out. I ended up getting kind of good at it with somewhat decent equipment, but uh, the newer models kept coming out and they kept getting harder and harder to
Yeah.
fix. And I'm like, I'm not going to every year or two change my whole shop layout and get all new stuff, invest thousands of dollars to try to fix and keep up when I can, you know, especially in the small town that I live in, it's like there's a lot of people with iPads, I'm sure, but it's just I can take apart a Windows based laptop or desktop in like 5 minutes and have it diagnosed and figure out what the issue is and replace parts and then quickly go online,
Right.
order the
Yeah.
parts and swap them out, but like there's like no equipment needed except for like a screwdriver and,
Yeah.
a few other
And,
specialty things I
and
got.
I totally think
Yeah.
that's the way it should be. Like, especially like if you're buying a product and you own it, you deserve the right to take it apart and repair it yourself. Like
Yeah.
that's just
Well, that's the Right to Repair Act
yeah.
of like
Yeah.
1974. Like they've been pushing that, but it was so hidden for so long that even Apple had to admit that they weren't making products that you could they were saying like, no, you can't fix it. Like you can't fix this product yourself. You need to bring it to an Apple certified repair facility.
Yeah.
And there was like other companies that were doing that as well, but like there's other companies like Dell products like they on their website they will put the documentation on how to take apart every one of their products, and like how to replace a hard drive or the RAM or all this different stuff and how to troubleshoot. Like they lay it all out to where it's so simple and you're like, why isn't every other company doing
Yeah.
this? I don't get it. It's because they knew about that Right to Repair Act, and it's also like in that same act, I forget which president signed it back in the day, but like it even basically like whenever you buy a new device, a new electronic device, they'll have those stickers on there, void warranty if sticker is removed. Technically, those stickers are illegal and those companies can't put them on there. And it's written out in black and white in that Right to Repair Act from 1974. Like but they get away with it. They have been doing it for,
Yeah.
the past couple decades or several decades since then. And it's like, people don't know about it. So I had posters in my shop, Right to Repair Act, supporting, all this stuff. And you have the right to repair your product if you buy it, and it doesn't cut the warranty. If you buy a product and you take it apart and you can't fix it, you can put it back together and send it back to the company if it's within that warranty period.
Yeah.
And they have to fix it. Like and it didn't void the warranty by opening up, but so that was the whole thing. But yeah, like anyway, I mean the whole electronic thing, I fix Windows based computers. It's just it works for me. That's what I'm trained in, I should say. Like I went to school for uh basic PC and
Okay. Yeah.
so like PC repair,
Yep.
and got certified and all that. I did that while I was still active duty in the Marine Corps. And I got my whole school paid for, so no student debt, no loan debt
Yeah.
or student loans. but but yeah, shoot, we're coming up on another
Oh yeah.
hour. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. It was awesome getting to talk to you
Yeah. It's
finally.
been fun.
I want to like go ahead if you can like tell people where to find you and to find your art. I will post links and stuff on the description of the site or the podcast description
Yeah,
when I
I
publish it.
think if you search for Cats Will Eat You on any popular social media platform, you can find me. catswilleatyou.com. I had to go with catswilleatyou_art at Instagram, but every other platform I'm just straight Cats Will Eat You. Someone's camping on my Instagram handle, which is so annoying because they're not using it, but I'll get it back someday.
Oh
But
man,
yeah, just look for Cats Will Eat You and you'll find me.
cats will eat you. So, is there a history
Oh,
behind the name?
yeah, yeah, we should have covered that earlier, but we um
Yeah, we got
so
time.
back,
If it's
yeah,
a
it's not a great story, but it's kind of funny. But so back when I was in college at graphic design school, our teacher, who everyone couldn't stand, lived alone with his cats and was telling us that he saw a special on Animal Planet where somebody died alone in their apartment and nobody found them, but when they finally did, the owner's cats had begun eating away at the corpse, and that your pet cat will do this to you. And it was just really funny to me that this guy that we all couldn't stand was living alone with his cats was telling us this. And I like, and I was a little younger, a little more twisted humor than I have now, and I was just like, I was like in stitches laughing. Like I fell out of my chair, and then I like, for some reason I was like, I gotta buy the URL right now, catswilleatyou.com, buying it today. And I had no intention of like uh, uh, attaching my art to it at the time, I think, but like like then I quickly after that I made like an oil painting of like cats eating a person, and I was like,
oh
oh,
wow.
okay, yeah, like, and then I was like started using Cats Will Eat You as like a handle on like message boards and Reddit and stuff, and like I was like, okay, and then I just kind of always picked it, and then I think probably a couple years after buying the URL was when I actually like built the website there and like started putting art images up and started using it. But yeah,
That's awesome, man. That's a good like origin story, kind of the
yeah,
where the name, like, that's like me with the wormhole thing. I just
where's that?
that was a when I worked for Boeing for a while, like the um, somebody said wormhole in a meeting one time, and I was just always talking about crazy stuff like quantum physics and like traveling through space and whatever. And when the person said it in the meeting, they said, you can't just do this. Things don't just appear like out of a wormhole or something. And I like fell out of my chair when he said wormhole. And then after that, everybody was like just calling me wormhole. It just like struck. And it's so surprising too, because like, I mean, I've always loved the idea of the whole like Einstein Rosen bridge and traveling through space and time at, saving time by going through a wormhole, like I've always been thinking about it. And I was like, and it just became a thing. I was, when I first started learning how to use Photoshop, I started making like fake album covers of just like me sitting with like an acoustic guitar, and like I would make this album cover and it was like wormhole, like whatever, like I had like guns and dinosaurs and all this weird shit. So it kind of stuck. And then, I don't know, like, and then I added a 42 to it from Hitchhiker's Guide to the
Okay.
Galaxy for my streaming, my gaming channel. Um, 42 is the answer to life, the universe, and everything kind of thing. Douglas Adams tribute. So
Okay.
I was like, oh yeah, wormhole 42. Let's just throw that on there. But yeah, it's cool to have those and to have that little like extra layer, that persona, that you can put out there and like people will attach, like you like your artwork,
Yeah.
and it seems to fit like perfect because nobody else out there. Speaking of cats, mine's trying to get into my server. Crap, cat, you threw me off. um, yeah, like nobody else is gonna have that name,
Right. Right.
So I'm sure there's other wormholes out there. When I was brewing beer, I wanted to make Wormhole Brewery,
Oh yeah,
like, and I even made a couple, accounts for it. I made a Facebook page and a Twitter account and all this stuff, but then I stopped brewing. So I was like,
I
oh
I
well.
also went down that wormhole of home brewing for a while. It's fascinating.
It,
It
it's
was super cool.
it is definitely fun to learn all that stuff. And I've got like a book of like all my notes,
Yep. Yep, I
like
got
a
mine
little
too.
notepad of all the different recipes I created and stuff. And I even have I won a Brewfest
Yeah.
thing one time. And I've got like got like this boot shaped glass with like, it's all engraved and stuff, and uh, it was fun. But I was a big alcoholic. So like, I just couldn't keep doing stuff that was basically killing me. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't brewing really for the fun of it. I just wanted more beer. Like I wanted to have lots of cool stuff, and it was like a persona of like I wanted to make really good beer, but the truth behind it was like I wanted to have lots of beer so I could always be drinking. You know, and even when I stopped brewing beer, like I spent way more money on at the liquor store, because I was still buying all the other good ones that I liked from all the other
Yeah.
craft breweries, and then I was just buying fifths of different vodka and all kinds of stuff just to get through the day. But I was like,
Yeah. I
it's
For
crazy.
me it was like um I think our our youngest started toddling around, and like so for me to be outside with large kettles of boiling liquid, um
Oh
like it's just not a good environment for a kid. Like they wanted like our youngest wanted to be around me all the time, and so it's like, oh, I'm just going to be unavailable most of Saturday morning. And it's just like,
yeah,
it's a really time consuming hobby. Like
yeah, it is.
it's a half day project. There's no way around it.
It was fun though when I had those like brewing kind of party thing,
Yep.
you have a bunch of people come over and like a bunch of dudes that are interested in learning how to brew,
Oh yeah,
they're
total
like
blast.
people from my work were like, "You're going to be brewing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll brew this weekend. Come on over,"
Yeah.
and you end up like just brewing and drinking,
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
total blast.
yep. Okay, so everybody out there listening, you can find Matt here at Cats Will Eat You. I think don't you have a link tree also, linktr.ee,
Yeah.
and I think that takes you to some links. But yeah, everybody support artists. Go out and check out some of his stuff, and it's really cool. I love looking at it. The 3D ones with the circle, like I don't understand how you do that, but I'll sit there and just stare at like every time you post a new one in like the Discord or something. I'm like just sitting there looking at it for like it's like it really like draws you in.
Yeah,
It's like
I don't know how I do it either
hypnotizing.
sometimes.
But man, I really appreciate you being on here and taking the time to let me talk to
Yeah,
you
thanks for being
and
flexible. Finally,
yeah,
but finally
absolutely.
worked out for us.
Yeah. So everybody, thanks for tuning in. You can oh wait, where's my other stuff? I have a link tree also for the Wormhole Manifest podcast, but and it has all the links to the social, linktr.ee/wormhole_manifest. And on Twitter is Wormfest Pod. Nice short condensed Wormfest Pod. So if anybody's interested, check that out for links and stuff. If anybody wants to be on the show, you can send me an email, wormholemanifest@gmail.com. We don't have a website. Like we were just talking about websites for everything. And the last podcast I did with my wife several years ago, I actually created a website for it. And it was like really fun to create the website. So maybe I'll do that. I'm trying to focus more on the content with this show. So, but yeah, Matt, thanks again,
Yeah,
man.
thanks, Matt.
It's been really cool. Yep. Matt. All right, everybody, stay tuned for more episodes coming soon. Hopefully I can get this one posted relatively quick. Shouldn't have any issues. I ain't got shit else going on. So Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking out the Wormhole Manifest podcast. We'll see you next time.